Enge, the former teacher and the deputy principal for quite a number of years, but I resigned and became the businessman on a full-time basis. I am currently the General Secretary of Codeta, the taxi organization which is based in Kailicha, and I am also the first deputy chairperson of Sandako, Western Cape. I am glad to be here today as well. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Nadia Deploy. I am a gender-based violence activist, and I am in community development. Thank you.
Good day, everybody. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Fazlin Fransman Talib. My history, just very brief, came from the ANC as a progressive in terms of the realization of the rights of all minorities and all oppressed people, both in South Africa and abroad. I stepped out of politics for a while, but this year, in the last while, I've realized there's a need for different voices within the political space, and reactivated by Marius Fransman.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and members of the media. My name is Freddie Adams. I started politics in 1991. At that time, because of the late President de Klerk, I was then an organizer for the National Party. 1994, I ran the Western Cape election with some other people, and 2000, I was one of the founding organizers of the Democratic Alliance, and in 2001, I was then again one of the founding organizers of the new National Party with Martinez van Schalkwyk, and we walked over and we've joined the ANC, and I was a member of parliament for 19 and a half years, and then I retired in 2019, and I went as a special envoy abroad and to the United Nations and then I met my friend, and then I heard his plans, and I said, okay, let me help you and assist you for the people of South Africa. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Apostle Musa Mohlala from Shekinah Healing Ministries. It's a prophetic organization that has above 110,000 members currently, and I'm a pioneer of the prophetic movement in South Africa. Thank you.
Ayanda. Put it back there. Put it back there.
Good morning, everyone. Members of the media, I greet you all. My name is Ayanda Nonambane, coming from Mitchell's Plain. I'm a young community activist. We have an organization called Masncedane. We established our organization in 2008. We were 5 members. Today we are standing on 13,500 members. Thank you.
Now, sorry, can you say where you worked the last while?
I'm a former provincial organizer of One South Africa under the leadership of Musa Maimane. I'm a former employee of City of Cape Town. I was working in the mayor's office, and I was a senior project administrator for City of Cape Town, the mayor's office. Thank you.
Thank you. He left in December 2023. Can we have Reverend Peterson?
Hi everybody, my name is Sebastian Peterson. So I was with the ACDP, and then I joined the ANC, and then from the ANC I started my own political party called the African Progressive Movement, and I subsequently gave the organization over to Marius Fransman, and I'm now part of the PMC. Thank you so much.
No. And your radio station?
Oh, and then I'm also the owner of a radio station called Africa Radio.
Okay.
Thanks.
Paramount Chief Matthews. Just your party and your indigenous leadership. No other issues.
Kaichesh, good morning to everyone. Members of the media. I'm Paramount Chief Noor Matthews from the Koopmond Royal Age, the Ganakwa tribe. And yeah, I was a councillor for the Good Movement. I resigned on 27 November last year. Yeah, and that's that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks. So he resigned 2 days into December, before December. Basil Jacobs.
Good morning, everybody. Trust you're doing well. Leadership and members of the press. My name is Basil Jacobs. I'm a community radio expert. 2016, I subsequently worked in the West Coast, where I made a joke with some of my friends, Semi Klaassen and Bumper Morgan, and I told them I'm coming to Paul to start a political movement. I got back to Paul, and we founded and we started the CDR movement, the Concerned Drakensberg Residents. I'm currently a president of that party, of that progressive movement, and I'm currently a sitting councillor of CDR in Drakensberg. And in this audience, there's 3 of our councillors here, 2 of our other councillors sitting here. And we joined the People's Movement for Change because this is something that our people need.
Thank you, that's fine. Chief Swedala.
Bayete. Bayete.
Bayete.
Good morning, everybody. Firstly, let's greet the indigenous leaders from all our tribes. We say, Khaites.
Khaites.
We come to the table, we say, good morning, all the leadership. This is the paramount this is the senior traditional leader from Amakonokwebe, David Kingdom, under the paramount chief of Amakhachabe. Currently, I am the deputy president of the Western Cape Traditional Leaders Council, and bear as in our community as the chairperson of the MSET, having the Kailicha deputy chairperson for the MSET next to me, Chief Ungwadla Khadebe Ntimkulu. Bayeti. Background, I'm coming from one of those people coming from exile. I've been with the Department of so-called human settlement for more than 27 years. I've been taking it to court about the case of Mandela Park, where they've been forced people to go there. We won the case. Even right now, we're still having the cases that are still in court. The reason to be with the PMC is just we have been seeing that they are eager to work with the people. So that's why we are encouraging all our traditional leaders to come on board, because our own people are still living in jeopardy in the informal settlement. Currently, right now, we're talking about what have been happening in areas, Strand, Kailicha, and currently in Hazen Park, the current the post victims right now, they are still needing help. We've got a blind person right now that's need a brailler. She was studying, but she's still in informal area. Because we are the traditional leaders, we take care of this. We need your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief Councillor Reza, are you here? And that you look together from the
all protocol observed. I'm very short person in talking.
I wanted to say this, President Marius, in Xhosa, but I can see that some people might not understand what I'm saying, even those that are speaking Xhosa, if I can speak in Xhosa.
Vernacular.
You know, I've got that tendency. Numisa knows that. My name is Khayaletu Vezaneti. I'm a former secretary for Sanco Khayelitsha Local. I'm a former ANC member. I'm a former COPE member. I was given an opportunity to be a PR councillor for the DA in 2016 till 2021. I'm a former campaign manager for the DA in Khayelitsha area, 2019 elections and 2021 elections. I am the current chairperson of United South African Civic Organization, a civic organization that we formed when we left the ANC in 2008. I thank you.
And what are you in the Khayelitsha Development Forum?
Okay. I am currently the Khayelitsha Development Forum Secretary, which is an organization that is looking for the development of the people of Khayelitsha. Thank you.
Thank you. So just that you know, thanks, Visa. Thanks. The KDF is the oldest development forum currently, definitely in the Western Cape, if not in South Africa, that is working in partnership and in, at times, challenging environment with the state. The chairperson of KDF is the chairperson of the ANC in the Metro, and the secretary has decided to be with us. Then is Mr. Brouwers here? Not? Okay, Mr. Brouwers? No, is Mr. Brouwers here? Okay, Mr. Brouwers, come to the front, please. Rifat Brouwers. And thereafter, Billy Claassen, and then I'm going to start the statement. Can you sing for us that 60-year-old song? Because it's birthday.
With the universal greeting of peace, love and unity, I greet each and every one. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh, and a very good afternoon to each and every one of you, including the leadership of the PMC. My name is Rifat Brouwers. I am the director and founder of a group called the Choice Drug Counseling Services, where I try and assist the marginalized people within our community, and those are the people known as drug addicts. Drug addicts are not to be the marginalized people. They are good people that have made a wrong choice in their life, and if they can be judged, then he who has no sin cast the first stone. I'm also the director of an organization called Community Network Projects, in which we do community outreaches, including a feeding scheme program, as well as educational development program. I was the Ward 49 appointed representative to be the councillor for the ANC, which I didn't win. But I'm very happy to be here today, and I sincerely hope that as the PMC, that you people will be unified in uplifting the marginalized people within our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. The last one.
Good morning. Morning, Elizabeth.
My name is Billy Claassen, coming from a small town, Redlinghuis, in the Sunveld, West Coast. I'm coming from the ANC, was a ward councillor. ENCA phoned me one day and said, it is not the ANC that won the ward, but you as Billy Claassen, the person. And they visited me there in the ward. Currently, I'm the executive director of an NGO, Rural and Farm Workers Development Organization, doing some work in the farming community for almost 25 years. So, and today I'm here coming from the ANC.
Thank you. So his focus is farm work. So the reason why I gave the reflection to the media about who's in the room, and there's a lot of others, this councillors, the clergy from various faith communities, there's traditional leaders, traditional healers, indigenous leadership, there's political parties here, different political parties present. The reason is to show that the last 20 years in South Africa and in the Western Cape in particular, as a person, I would have been at different levels, at different positions, representing the African National Congress. And therefore, the African National Congress that I know was always grounded closest to the people. That's the thing that they used to know. And hence, we realized that there was a big contradiction in the last couple of years, and the question then was, where to from now? So let me, and that's why it was important to reflect who was in this room. Let me, to the people, the audience here, thank you for joining me, along with some of my closest associates and friends, as we reflect on the state of our beloved nation, South Africa. Our democracy, hard won against the backdrop of apartheid, is facing significant challenges that demand our urgent, collective attention and action. When reflecting on the state of our society, we must guard against self-appeasement, ensuring our understanding remains in touch with the everyday realities faced by ordinary citizens. In this context, I would like to address pressing issues that, if left unattended, risk turning our great nation into a failing state. A few years ago, some of us in this room, as an outcome of internal reflection, aimed to understand, and we started off with the intent. Even 3 years ago, we just, in the last local government elections, we were not really active. I wasn't active. And I just wanted to understand what happened, and we had a research analysis on South Africa. And some of the stuff that we are engaging here is essentially the outcome of it. So we went to various communities. We held a number of consultative forums across South Africa. The first thing that we've learned is that our people feel dignified, relevant, and important when consulted. So when they are being engaged, then we're being consulted, they feel relevant. The second persistent matter arising was a perception that 30 years into our democracy, things were definitely not getting better. In fact, there was a feeling that it's getting worse. People everywhere think things are getting worse. In fact, for most, the harsh reality of entrenched socioeconomic disparities remains pervasive in our society, despite 3 decades of constitutional democracy. While strides have been made in rectifying the injustice of the past, we cannot ignore the substantial gaps that still exist in income, education, health, and employment opportunities amongst different communities. So there's an inequality gap between our communities. One of the most pressing challenges we face is the scores of a seemingly rampant unemployment rate, particularly amongst our young people. South Africa's unemployment rate is inaccessible high. There are 7.8 million people unemployed, most young people. This is untenable, and this is disgraceful. And we've decided to challenge political parties, all big political parties, to say, can the elders start to give orientation to the younger leadership of society, and essentially being a space where they can grow and take over these positions. Not at conferences, because what we've seen in other political parties, there's battles for, then there's intergenerational mix, there's this, that's all ways to try to get to positions. We are saying we are creating an intellectual bank of people across the various spheres of society. And we are calling people, it doesn't matter from which political parties people are. There you've seen it. We are calling on people to come together so that we can orientate and train and learn from each other. And that's the real investment in young people into the future. Crippling power cuts, volatile commodity prices, and a challenging external environment have obviously contributed to this weak growth performance. By year end, we project real GDP growth to fall sharply from last year. Though we expect growth to pick up slightly, the pace is way too slow to reduce unemployment, which is at 32%, remains close to an all-time high. In our discussions, we realized there is a call for business, communities, NGOs, CBOs, and political parties to have a discussion. On the basis of that, then, we reflected on the South African economy, and we said over the last 6 months, and we said the biggest contradiction is the fact that we had a situation where we had a rainbow nation and a feel-good approach to our democracy, but the fundamentals of a democracy is not right. The fundamentals is the fact that unless there's more equality, there cannot be peace. So the initiatives that we are starting, we are saying we are marrying the inequality issues and redress with a peaceful society. And hence, we believe the CODESA in 94 process did not address fundamentals. And hence, this team is calling on a broad national dialogue. So we challenge President Ramaphosa that in the State of the Nation address that he actually put in front for the next 30 years, for the last 30 years, the contradiction of the economy, that it entrusts society, and he basically come clean on the fact that there is mega contradictions. And the only way that we believe it should now be taken forward is the economic CODESA in South Africa. So that's something that we are putting forward. So that forum will bring together a myriad of stakeholders, ensuring a collaborative effort to tackle economic challenges. The other issue, and we've been to various areas, we've been to the African black townships, we've gone to colored communities on the Cape Flats, we've gone to white communities, and we've gone to the rural communities in South Africa. And we've identified these particular elements. So the process of consultation, and to the media we want to say, we are grappling with the notion of how do we put people's power back at the center of development in South Africa. It's easier said than done. And that's a particular focus that we will be having. Our people bemoan the fact that the old and familiar adage of it's take a village to raise a child, and your child is my child, have all but disappeared. And I must say they make a solid case. I, for one, agree that it's crucial to underscore the significance of family and community in shaping our collective destiny. Families are the bedrock of any society, where values are instilled and dreams take root. It is within the embrace of our families that we find the foundation for nurturing future leaders, innovators and contributors to our nation's progress. Communities, as an extension of our families, play a vital role in fostering a sense of belonging and shared responsibility. It is in our communities that we find the power to uplift one another. So what we've put together is families, communities, and we're making that particular link. Rifat earlier spoken about the issue of substance abuse, and what we are saying is if substance abuse was a country, it would possibly been the number 5 or 6 country in the world. So that means if substance abuse was a political party, it most probably would have been the number 1 or 2 political party in South Africa. And that becomes the central crisis for the team that sits here. Because we are saying it breaks the fiber of humanity. It breaks a situation where a child hits a mother, where a father assaults a daughter. It is all of that that's taking shape. And therefore we are saying is we are calling on society, all political parties, and we're challenging those parties to all make substance abuse a central focus. As Pastor Nomdu once told me, if substance abuse was a weapon of mass destruction, it's possibly one of the biggest weapons of mass destruction. And therefore in the Western Cape, we see mass destruction of families and of communities based on substance abuse. And therefore we're calling on organizations to come to and help us in this process. We've also reflected on the state, national, provincial and local, and we think it's a disgrace that people must pay 30,000, 50,000 and 80,000 rand to send a child, a young person, for substance abuse. We reflected on the NGOs that gets money from the provincial government and NGOs that gets money from the national government, the bulk of the money, and from the city of Cape Town and municipalities against substance abuse. And we are seeing it's reinforcing the old style, apartheid style, white interest in that process. And we are saying those are the issues that we want to address. We also, as you can see today, we also have a particular focus on the Khoi and San, Bushman, and the marginalized. The African National Congress has a contradiction. It speaks in its constitution, blacks in general, and Africans in particular. So if you are an African, if you've got my color, am I black or am I African? The foundation of this initiative is that we are all humane human beings. We are all equal. We are definitely all equal before God. So we think there's a contradiction in policy positions in South Africa that create a view that you are not white enough or you're not black enough. And we are saying we must all just be. And we are calling on the parties to review, the political parties, the main parties, to review their policies around employment equity. The final point that I want to address is the issue about our engagement that we had around our global engagement of foreign policy. Some of us just returned from Lebanon, and we were engaging on issues of the Middle East to understand what is taking shape globally, what is taking shape in the Middle East, and what's the effect of what's happening in the Middle East going to be on South Africa in the near future. So our approach will be to foster positive relationship based on principles of equality, and we believe that currently there's a big contradiction in the way what happens in Ukraine is being dealt with and has been dealt with, and what is happening in Gaza that's being dealt with. And we are saying we must fight for an equal society at the geopolitical level. In navigating this complex web of global relations, we therefore are striving to balance those national interests to our international realities. Lastly, let our engagement with the world be a testament to the values that define us as a nation, fostering a relationship not only to benefit us, but to work towards shared prosperity. We cannot turn a blind eye to the injustices perpetrated in Gaza, where tens of thousands of women, men, children, and the aged are being indiscriminately killed, starved, and made homeless by the actions of the callous occupying force, whose actions have been condemned by the ICJ. Now, just to say what's going to happen now in the ICJ, it brings forth the biggest contradiction of the Bretton Woods institutions. The Bretton Woods institutions is those institutions speaking to the geopolitical space that trying to rationalize and harmonize things. We're speaking here about the United Nations Security Council, IMF, World Bank, etc. And we are saying that there's a reconfiguration required. And the Gaza issue and the assault and the brutality and the genocide on the people of Palestine has bring that right into the center of the debate. And we are saying as the organization, we want those issues to be dealt with. So after all of these things and the last visit to Soweto on Saturday, myself, Kumisa and Freddie, we reflected, and 3 months ago we had a NPC last year, and late in December we literally decided that it's time that we actually register a political party and that we contest this election. So today we want to announce that we've created an organization with all these leaders called the People's Movement for Change. And what I want to bring forth is these issues that we've reflected on, is the issues. And I just want to show that who this organization is. Now, if you look at the logo speaks about people, it speaks about community, and it speaks about togetherness. And why we are saying People's Movement for Change, because we're saying there's fundamental problems in our society. And we are bringing together people from all walks of life, We believe that it's time for another formation. The PMC is contesting, and the PMC believe that if not one of the top, we definitely will be the second largest party in the Western Cape come elections. We've decided to go to Gauteng. We believe that what's taking place in Gauteng is wrong. We can see the failures. We can see the play on demographics and the problems. And we are saying we will be going into Gauteng and focus hard on Gauteng in 3 months' time. The Northern Cape might be small in size, but it's in terms of population, but it is large in the context of a size geographically, but importantly so. It's the centerpiece of the Khoi and the San and the Bushman. And we believe what the ANC has done in the Northern Cape is wrong to our people, and our people must run for almusa. I don't know what's almusa in English. What is it? Handouts. And we are saying it's time that those people that actually were there centuries ago, that we call the First Nation, that we live to it. And hence, we're going into the Northern Cape to reclaim the Northern Cape for the First Nation. In the Western Cape, there was two contradictions. There was two international, global wars of resistance. Those that claim that the struggle started in 1912 is wrong. And those that claims it was only Madiba and others that were in Robben Island is wrong. Because from the 1500s, our people, the descendants of the First Nation, were actually put in prison on Robben Island and other places. And hence, the issue of the pre-1913 opening of the restoration of land, pre-1913, we are saying that we're going to put that into the center of our manifesto as well. Because the issue of Lisbiek, the area just around here, the those that know where the castle is should know that the water came right to there. There was no waterfront. And it was Dalmeida that fell in 15 when he tried basically to take over. And it was the Khoi, and that's why we're invoking the spirit of the warriors of those that got Dalmeida to fall in this organization. On public transport, our assessment was the last 8 months. We couldn't believe what's happening in the city of Cape Town. Because in our consultation, we realized that it is an issue of the economy. What is taking shape in Cape Town is they are trying to put bus rapid systems in place against the taxi industry. So what is happening is there is a way to push down anything that's black, colored, African, and Indian, and to essentially make sure there's a small team of elite that is managing the public transport sector. And hence, we've asked Mr. Enger to go to the taxi industry to say, stop reckless driving. And we will help to make sure that the public transport sector is transformed in the Western Cape post this election coming. To the clergy, we want to say, there's too many groups. I'm speaking generally. And what we are calling is, we're calling on the clergy to help this new party, to guide us. Because where it went wrong post-94, and I was part of that, even as a child, was part of that process. We actually left God and Allah out of the schools. And part of what we're going to do, none of our meetings will be held without a prayer. And therefore we're calling on every political party to bring God, Allah, back into the parties and back into the community. And right from the school, whilst we're not in government, we are saying wherever we've got principals, wherever we've got school managers, wherever we've got SGBs, we are calling on all not to wait for when people are in government. And that's the beauty of the PMC. We believe things can be done now. So we're calling on people not to wait for when there's a vote. And hence we're inviting business people to come to our round table and to come with suggestions of how to take things forward. We will be biased to the poor, working class, and the middle income. Because over the next 2, 3, 4 years, the middle income has become working class. People are going to lose their jobs, their houses, and their vehicles. And we are saying unless we create a national crisis against this thing, there's a problem. So we're inviting people on a journey as the PMC. We don't ask you all to be members of the PMC. We ask you to bring your capabilities, your intellect, your capacity, and add value. Then the issue of parliament. My previous home, the ANC, they're scuttling currently about who's going to go to parliament. In the DA, they're scuttling around who's going to go to parliament. There's small parties. There's a party that went to Israel. When they came back, they said there is no apartheid at all. Now, I've been traced to Palestine. I've been in Israel for the last couple of years. There is a damning apartheid wall, and it's an open-air prison. There's a party in South Africa that claims that our people hate Zimbabweans and they hate all foreign nationals. But when they refer to foreign nationals, they refer to black foreign nationals. They don't speak foreign nationals from the white community. And we are saying to our black brothers in Africa and sisters, this party is anti-xenophobic. Our outlook is pan-African, but we will make sure on the ground our people get work. But we can't be a premier of of Gauteng in the past, not this premier, that blames when he's in the corner and he can't put employment, he says, no, it's the Zimbabweans. We are against illegal foreigners, whether they're white from Asia, whether they're white from Europe. We are against that, and also against black foreigners if they're illegal here. But let's not say, definitely, we cannot make statements that we're going to turn off oxygens at hospitals to people. So we are calling on political parties to be more cautious, to be sensitive in the way we engage our society. Because political parties in essence and leaders in essence is being looked up by people, and they will follow leaders. And if we want to create a stable society, a less contradictory society, a harmonious society, what we require is leadership that can find each other on the middle ground. And therefore we want to say to those, the DA and to the ANC nationally, we are saying we are ready for an engagement, because the PMC will be sitting at the table of decision making in the next year. I think the final point is the elections. We now know the next 5 years. We don't believe what Zanzi Rise is saying, or Rise Zanzi, are saying about this is the 94 moment. 2024 is not the 94 moment. 2026 and 2029 will be the 94 moment. Because here we're going to see coalitions over the next 2, 3, 4 months, and then we're going to see 80% of all municipalities in South Africa completely will be coalitions in the next 2 years, and then also nationally. And therefore, the final point is mediocrity. The problem is when we come into political spaces to look for a job. So we are saying to the leadership here, I'm the first one that will say, all that I want to see is being a spanner boy. Not necessarily leadership in government, in parliament. Because we must work towards a situation where the Gamas of this world and the Niazes of this world, the younger generation, the Ayandas and the Basils and others, to the younger generation, we must train them up. I'm 54, I'm very old. He's 42, very young. 28, etc. 45, no, but I'm just messing. So, oh yeah, Apostle says you must be technically correct. So what we are saying is, we are going to train people up for parliament for the future. We're going to orientate people to become the best councillors and the best parliamentarians, so that you serve your people proper. And therefore we'll put an independent panel together. And we are in consultation, and one of the people that I'm consulting is Rod Solomons, Advocate Rod Solomons, to see what type of panel is required to have an independent process for the right people to be sent. So, in closure, one of my friends, when he heard about the PMC over the last month and a half and heard what we were doing, he called me 2 days ago, and he said he want to speak. Sammy, over to you.
Thank you very much, President.
Okay. Which mic? Which mic? This one. Okay. Just okay.
Viva Palestine, viva! Thank you, Leader Marius. I currently hold a position as the National Campaigns Consultant for the Democratic Alliance. I'm working in the office of Helen Ziller. I was responsible for the last 10 months for all the election campaigns in South Africa. I've been to Gauteng, I've been to Free State, I've been to the Western Cape, and I was deployed to Grabouw. There's a by-election there, and I've been working for the last 4 weeks there. I've been the former mayor of Bergrivier municipality, and I'm a former spokesperson of the ANC in the West Coast. I've been a councillor for the last, I say, 15 years altogether. And I was the deputy leader of the Patriotic Alliance in the Western Cape. And yeah, I leave the Democratic Alliance today. And the main reason I've been groomed in the ANC and COSATU, I'm a former trade union organizer for more than 20 years. I've been working for the National Union of Mine Workers and for FAO. And being groomed in the progressive movement, I was confronted with the Palestine issue. And within the DA, you can't speak about Palestine publicly. And that issue frustrated me, but also it was a moral issue for me. That if you keep quiet, you condone the genocide that is taking place in Palestine. Mandela once said, free. So my decision is based on a moral, humanitarian principle and position that I can't keep quiet any longer about Palestine. We are thankful that the South African government took them to court, and that there's a court outcome on that, but it's us in Cape Town who are the strongest voice for the Palestinian people. And therefore, I am resigning from the DA with immediate effect. I will be joining the People's Movement for Change, and I will use my skill, my intellect, my ability, my commitment to South Africa and put it behind the People's Movement for Change. To the ANC, your time is up. I've been to Joburg. There's no traffic lights working. The poles have been cut down to the bottom. An inefficient municipality is running South Africa's main center of power. The ANC has just given us corruption, inefficiency, and looting. The DA has seized power for the last 15 years in the Western Cape, and the ANC has been in decline since then. There's no one holding the DA to account in our municipalities, in the province, and in the city, because they're weak. We need a movement that is connected to the people. The reason why the ANC and all these other parties can't effectively hold those in power to account, because there's a complete disconnect between political parties and the people. And I believe, Marius, that you're on the right track with the People's Movement for Change. We need to reconnect like in the 80s under the banner of the UDF. It was a people's movement that brought democracy. It was not the ANC, but the people of Cape Town, the people of Kimberley in Galeshewe, the people in El Dorado Park, the people in Soweto, and the people in the Eastern Cape brought this change. And we owe it up to them to bring change within the next couple of years. It is a process. It is not an overnight thing. So my support is to submit under your leadership. Thank you.
can we find a T-shirt? Where's the individuals? Can we get T-shirts quickly? Huh? Oh, where's the mic? Oh yeah. No. Where's the other T-shirts? Can we now? Sammy can come to the front. Can we get one T-shirt there for him? In the meantime, I'm just going to announce some of the leaders currently. It's a bit small, but just put it on. No, put it on. Ja, net jou mag 'n bietjie intrek. Come and stand next to him. Thank you. That's great. Thanks you. So give him a big hand. Let me indicate for just the some of the structures, not everything. We've decided to initiate an Islamic desk. It's the first party with an Islamic desk. Maulana Zahir, can you just stand up and wave, please? Right. Then the Christian faith desk, I will give the other position that he has, but now Pastor Freddie Adams. Council of the Elders, if they can all just stand, Sir Richard Ngondo, Imam Abrams, and Rogaya Abrams. That is a stalwart of the ANC. She's decided to come on. If you have been in Parliament for 30 years or around Parliament, that would be the iconic face. Then the Secretary General of the Youth Command, Niaz Hakim. The President of the Youth Command, Gama Kuba. We've decided to put together a political school where Reverend Sebastian said he's not interested in any political office, but is interested to help train people around leadership and the quality of leadership in a non-hard political way. The PMC is also an organization that will look at non-party political structuring. So we are testing a model that's already in Europe and a few other places. So Sebastian Peterson will be responsible for conscientious, it's wrongly spelled there, conscientious servant leadership. And we believe we need a conscientious person for the future in South Africa. So he's there. We've got Faisal Daniels as the spokesperson of the PMC, and Faisal Daniels used to serve in the last 25 years prior to 5 years ago in all senior positions, either in the Chief Whip's office, in National Parliament, in the Ministry's office, and then in the Presidency as speechwriter. We have the Secretary General of the Women's Formation. It's Puleng Mokoto Flatela. Puleng, you've spoken, so if you can just, she's not here now. So Puleng, and then the President of the Women's Movement, Kumisa Mahangu, you've also met already. Now, just in front, Second Deputy Secretary General dealing with legal and administration is, just wave your hand, is Advocate Bailey. First Deputy Secretary General, Community Outreach and Civil Society is Jermaine Andrews. Secretary General is Neba Enger. The National Chairperson of PMC is Freddie Adams. The first Deputy President, and this is a person that I've got great respect for. I met him 6 years ago. Is it 6 years ago? Yeah. Those that know, when there was some accusation on me, there was the clergy that came. It was the Koi and the Sun that came. and said, we don't know if you have done this or that, but all that we are saying is we believe that God will take care, nothing else. And he was one of those that I met in that space. So Apostle Musa Joshua Moshlala, give him a big hand. And I've been requested, tasked to be the president of the organization, but those that know me know I want to be the spanner boy. So we've taken long. If there is any, Faisal, if there is any, Faisal, if there is any questions, we can deal with it.
Thank you, Mr. President. Quite a mouthful. I'd like to invite anyone in the audience, special reference to the sectors, and also obviously members of the Fourth Estate, the media, to raise their hands. I think we'll make it easy. I'll just identify a hand, whether it's first or second. The media first.
Lula Mamaja, SABC. Mr. Fransman, just a few quick questions. Firstly, if you already registered the party with the IEC? Secondly, who are you willing to work with after the from other political parties that are governing parties in some spheres of government? And what is it that you're going to do now that you failed to do when you were part of the governing party and other leaders, they were part of the various political parties that are governing in certain spheres of government? Thanks.
I think the first question, or let me start with the last one. We would have had long discussions on this matter. Essentially, we believe that if we were also great in national, provincial, and local government over the last 20 years, we would not have had 60% unemployment amongst young people. So what we are saying is that change starts from within. That's why it's called People's Movement for Change. We can't say that everything is wrong or there's a lot of things that's wrong, and we've recognized the stuff that is right. So the statement speaks to that. But this is an assessment of the last 30 years. Over the next few years, the question is what therefore? And we are saying that we have come and we first had to do introspection ourselves. So there's things that we've done right and things that we didn't do right as individuals from various political spaces. But what I think it's important to note that the majority of the people were never in government. The majority of our people that's here in the executive were never in parliament, were never in council. And that means that we are bringing together the experience of governance with the experience of the impact of our governance for 20 years. And we are bringing that together and we will be molding that into the future. So change starts from within. So we recognize our own weaknesses in that process, and therefore we're saying there's time to do corrective measures. And that's why we are calling on the big parties, not to say to people they're the best, but to rather say to the people that actually the policies that we've implemented in all political parties fundamentally created a more unequal society. The Gini coefficient is the highest in the world currently. So that is it. So it's self-correction. Stuff to get right, I think we've already spoken to about it. So let's take Khayelitsha, practical speaking. If you've got the level of unemployment there, then and Mitchell's Plain, then what you do is we need to look at what is the township regeneration potential. Say, for example, Mitchell's Plain. What is that township regeneration opportunities? And then to bring the people that actually do business into Mitchell's Plain or into Khayelitsha to make sure that they are coming through an equitable relation with the people of Mitchell's Plain and Khayelitsha, i.e. ICT, the cell phones, the Wi-Fi. Who's in control of that in Mitchell's Plain and Khayelitsha? The advertising companies into Mitchell's Plain and Khayelitsha. The number of mass people that's using it, and where does that money go to? So we are saying in the context of the fourth industrial revolution, the PMC has an agenda to bring some of the best practices of the world and of South Africa through the eyes of the people, the biasness to the people. So we will be engaging big business, all the big business. We are saying there's equitable relations. We believe they've got a big role to play as business. So therefore we believe there must be economic Odessa to discuss how do we strengthen the township and rural economies through the eyes of an equitable relation, not an equal relation, an equitable relation. So those are some of the elements that we are bringing. Another example is, where does the fruit and veg come from when it goes to the informal traders in the communities? We are saying it's wrong that the city of Cape Town is essentially not even having a Kailicha to Guguletu informal traders market or into Athlone informal traders. Where does the apples come from? And when that apples come from, what is the farmer charging and what is the end user paying? It's that level of difference. And we are saying as the PMC, we don't have all the answers, but we've got the ability to bring everyone together. Because we believe, and it's not politicians, that's why we said in the beginning, best practices from economic people, business people. So what we're looking for is conscientious business people that will not look at how to cause havoc in terms of mega, should I say, materialism for themselves, but to actually understand of poverty, an island of prosperity will be engulfed. So you can't have a few very wealthy people and millions of poor people. The last example that I think I should make is public transport. Taxi industry, so I'm giving you a hint on, we've got very clear deliverables and strategies on it. If you've got public transport, bottom up, graduates, a lot of our people that's now graduates, economists, business people, traders, came from a family where the father or mother was a taxi driver. Then they became a taxi owner, a small taxi owner, taxi operator. If the city of Cape Town and the province are giving out bus tenders, why do they go into Drakensberg and push the small taxi operators out? If the taxi operators in Paarl were always there, and suddenly they want to bring Golden Arrow in. Now what does that mean? Golden Arrow and others get, and I'm just going to give the figures, a bus subsidy of at least 1.5 billion rand annually. That's Golden Arrow. My city gets a bus subsidy of at least 1 billion rand annually. But Golden Arrow only moves 250,000 people daily. My city bus moves approximately 37,000 people daily. The taxi industry in Cape Town alone moves 1.5 million people with a zero budget, with zero subsidy. So what is the PMC going to do? We're calling on every taxi operator, every small operator, to make sure that they actually support the PMC. Because when we're going to go in there, one of our briefs are that we will ensure that the bus subsidy, we are saying that there can be 500 million taken from the existing structures and reallocating to the taxi operators through a bus subsidy, a taxi subsidy. What will that do? It will help them not to drive fast on the road. Now, because the only income is not dependent now on that process. On the agricultural industry, we're also saying that we want the farmer and the farm worker to take hands. But we are biased to the farm worker and the farm dweller. Because the farm worker and the farm dweller wants, all that they're looking for is decent minimum wages. So those are the issues that we'll be tackling. And that's, so I'm hinting that we've got a research unit that will work through, but we don't have all the answers. So some of us that were in government knows where we've gone, where the policies were working and where it didn't. Then an important strategic issue for South Africa is, this is not yet decided because we don't have the manifesto in totally, but I do believe we've got too many provinces. So I do believe there's a need to review the number of provinces in South Africa, one, and I think one is more biased to 6 provinces maximum. And two, the concurrent pieces of legislation in the Constitution. So let's take one example. Nationally decide, I've heard Premier Zille and then President, I think one of the presidents spoke, either Zuma or Ramaphosa, spoke about Singapore at some stage. So when we make example of Singapore, Singapore doesn't have a hierarchical structure of the state. They've got a seamless state, nationally and locally. In South Africa, so if China, for example, if China decide to build an industrial park, they build it. Then the province or the municipality aligns into that. What happens in South Africa? The industrial development zone is being declared in Saldanha. Then the province or the municipality don't like it's national, then it becomes politicking. And we're saying take the politic out of development and let's work together. So we believe changing the concurrent pieces of legislation to create contradictions and push development outside, that's what we're going to go against. So those are some of the elements. Yes, the party is registered. I must also say that we do not want to be a party. We want to be a movement because we believe we've got issues that we want, that the movement must take into Parliament. It is because of party politics that South Africa is looking like it today. I was part of that. The biggest issues that we discuss in party structures, whether you're DA, ANC, or wherever, you discuss factions. Currently, there's a big debate in South Africa about the former president and the current and where he comes from and where he is. And all that does is if the elephants fight, the grass suffer. It's ordinary people that suffer when the big players fight. And we are saying we must get away from party politics. So the people's movement is called People's Movement for Change because we are basically pushing an agenda that we don't want to be a normal party political structure. So we are registered. We're calling on people to join this journey. It's a home away from home, and it's a home for all opportunities. And as I said, we've done the analysis about nationally, the ANC cannot get 50%, shouldn't get 50%. The DA will not get 50% in the Western Cape. The last Ipsos polling have shown them at 44%. I've given a bit higher. I thought it's 48%, and I can analyze why they're declining. And what you're seeing is the Freedom Front Plus, and the DA is eating from the same base. Triple C or NCC is still eating from a DA base. The Freedom Front is doing to the DA what the EFF is doing to the ANC. And then the question is, where's people going? And we are saying, we're inviting you on this particular journey to take forward. We think we're going to rewrite the policy positions in the state over the next few years. So part of the strategy is to create a strong school for governance, not the political school, a governance school, where we will be able to train, connect with the international community, and therefore we're calling on the BRICS countries to join, to help us, because there's no question that we'll be in government. The question rather is, if people are going to go into government, are they properly trained and equipped? And that's what we are trying to put forward. On who we're going to go to, who will we look at, for example, in possible coalition ventures. We are saying for now we're running an election. We're calling on business, we're calling on communities, we're calling on volunteers to participate. It's going to be tough, it's new. If you've asked me 5 years ago, 7 years ago, 10 years ago, you had the big parties and nothing. But the society has changed, and that's why there's an opportunity for growth for the smaller parties. Because now suddenly we've got a strong, young voting population that has never voted before. So it's a changed voting population. 10 years ago it would have been different. And the uncertainty in the voting pattern. So we believe that it is the right time. For now we're going out full on to have maximum impact in the shortest possible time with moderate support. That's where we are. We're not focusing on coalitions. I can say the Moonshot Pact is a fallacy. The reason why the Moonshot Pact, one of the people on that pact, the tall gentleman there from Spectrum National Party, I don't know if Andrew Euster sits here. But that's the president stand there nicely with John Steenhuisen and others. The Secretary General of that same party is here, giving you an indication. So he's sitting, the DA and others are thinking, we've got 6, 7 strong people. That particular person, Secretary General, is with the PMC a couple of months ago. So I think what we are saying is, we are saying to people publicly, the Moonshot Pact is not possible to work. Because they're going to have to fight for their own constituency over the next 2-3 months. And that means there's a potential that they're going to trip over each other. And the reason why they've created the Moonshot Pact is that the DA can spin the story that they're at 33%. Because literally they cannot grow beyond 21%. So they must spin the story that they're at 33%. Because you're now taking all these others into account. And we are saying to the people, don't be fooled. The ANC and the DA wants to go into marriage. That's the best thing for any other political party over the next 3 years. Because if the ANC and the DA is going to combine, they're going to govern. But the ANC will lose fundamentally most of its voters immediately thereafter. The Democratic Alliance will lose significantly their voters after that to the Freedom Front and to other political parties. So we believe that what we need to contribute, I think you can pick up, we're not negative about this, we're not fighting these parties. We are saying let's bring reality and truth into the discussion. And we will create a broad front, and we will be meeting, hopefully, every big political party that wants to engage us on the possibility of a broad front, but we will not do it unless we've moved to all the small political parties and engage all the community organization and say, we as the PMC are there to help you to go through that door so that your issues can be addressed.
Thanks, Mr. President. I think we're calling for another hand from the media. I think what we are hearing, Mr. President, is that in terms of the political landscape and the body politic of South Africa, it requires a reimagination. And that is what the PMC is about. Antigaya? It's not cordless, Antigaya. Not cordless. Is there anyone else? Yeah, she's coming. If you want to say something.
Yeah. Should I say something? Okay. All right, thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. President, leadership. I want to call to all the charismatics, evangelical, Pentecostal, and the prophetic movement to be part and parcel of this vehicle. People for change, I think it's bringing what everyone needs. Thank you.
I'm going to greet, I'm going to say hello everybody. I have a very interesting story. And I was trying, while I was sitting there, I was trying to think who invited me to PMC's breakfast. And I thought, okay, let me go. 2 months ago, yeah. When I walked in there, something inside of my soul guided me. I can't explain it to anybody. I was a veteran of the ANC. Wesley knows me well. We serve in the same branch. While I was sitting there, my brain was mangling and I thought, this is where I want to be. And I stood up and I told him, I've been with the ANC 25, 30 years and I'm a veteran. I love the ANC and I will always remember them for taking me through a journey of apprenticeship. I was committed to the cause. I was an apprentice, I'm an artisan now. The ANC is not ready for me. I have a lot between my ears. I'm a QBE, qualified by experience. And I think PMC's, one of their mandates is also to alleviate poverty, distribute wealth, and job creation. And I think I'm good at that, and I'm saying it in a humble way. Why? We'll never get this country right if we all don't put the shoulder to the wheel. And I like the spirit of PMC. And let me also say, I moved to District 6 18 months ago, and I see the DA with divide and rule. And all of us, I'm a nice person, but I have a queer side also to me. I'm good at oversight, making sure the commitment we made to the people, that is happening. Especially in business, where downstream opportunity are given to people. And I'm telling you this now to say to you, I'm the chairperson of few clusters of day hospitals, and I see teenage pregnancies. Oh my gosh, people, we don't know anything. Young children coming in for abortion. So yes, I think all of us, if we put our shoulders to the wheel, and we're not here to bring people down, we're here to work with them. Thank you, God bless, and I know we're going to be simply the best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Auntie Gay. Deputy President.
Hello again, everybody. Assalamu alaikum again. I think as the second Deputy President of the People's Movement for Change, one of the things that I think the Muslim community in Cape Town, in the Western Cape, and across South Africa have realized is that specifically the Democratic Alliance is not a home for you. We heard from somebody that worked right in the office of Helen Zille and how they were silenced and weren't able to even speak up about something that is happening across the world. You know, I always say that in the 1940s, when World War II took place, the world stood by. There was a conglomerate of countries that did something, but largely speaking, the world stood by. We see what happened in Rwanda in the early 90s and in Bosnia, and the world stood by. And the reality is we cannot be shamed into being silent about the fact that our brothers and sisters, and this is not about religion, our brothers and sisters in humanity are being killed in mass, and we have a government in the Western Cape that is even refusing to call for a ceasefire. For me, that is deeply problematic because on a moral level, we certainly cannot align ourselves in that space. And so if we bring it back to the People's Movement for Change, it has created a home, a vehicle for the Muslim community and every other community. I think we're going into an era in politics whereby a lot of moral issues will become the question of the day. And our President, Marius Fransman, highlighted the lack of that leadership that took place from the religious community into the political space over the last 30 years. And this is something that the PMC is trying to change by simply saying every person in this country needs to be part of the decision making in terms of their future. We are a bottom-up movement. It has to be bottom-up because historically what has happened it used to be bottom-up in this country. It became top-down, and we have to flip the script. We have to change the narrative, and we have to put people at the center of decision making. And this then goes out to the Muslim community specifically in Cape Town, and we cannot ostracize ourselves or separate ourselves from the struggle of the rest of the people in this province. We see a disparity both in the Western Cape and across the country between those that have and those that do not have. And those that do not have been left behind, irrespective of race, irrespective of religion. And as people of humanity in this country, we have to draw the line in the sand and simply say, we cannot stand by it. So People's Movement for Change is a home for all. It's a terrible statement, but it's a true statement. We have, the Islamic desk, and this is something that is really very innovative, because please show me any other political party where there is an Islamic desk, because we know, one, from a religious base, there are religious-based issues. Right now, sitting in Parliament, we have the Muslim Marriages Bill, something that is deeply being contested within the Muslim space. Now, what is happening is that we're not having our scholars, our religious scholars, part of that process from a governmental level. Yes, from a societal level there's commentary, but we need it from a governmental level. And I think this is where the People's Movement for Change is slightly different in that, because we're saying we're bringing you into that space to be able to do that. So we call on all of our Muslim brothers and sisters, firstly as a constituency, and then the broader people in the Western Cape, to reject what is currently happening at a national and provincial level and say, and partner with us and join us as we say, we put people back at the center of power.
Thank you very much, Deputy President Fransman Talib. I think, do we have another question? We have a question over there and two over there.
Good morning to you, everyone. Good afternoon. Mr. Marius Fransman, I just want to ask you, you mentioned about transport, you mentioned about the xenophobia in this country, but you didn't mention anything about education. As you can see, where we go with the Western Cape Education Department, how they bully certain teachers in our province. Then I also want to know about the foreign policy. Any idea how you're going to tackle that also? Policy. Thank you.
I'm not going to be long now in terms of, yeah, we've got a few minutes. I think education is in the statement. I've just ran through it, but it's in the written statement and you will get it on the website. And I think we will just know where the details of the website at the end first. Then secondly, we've looked at the results of the education department in the Western Cape. It's appalling. It has moved down to, is it fifth place? And in the country, but what it shows, if you drill down in that, you actually see it's relating to the poor and the wealthy. So if a child is growing up in a poorer school, the likelihood that that child is dropping out is much bigger than the likelihood of a child in the affluent school. And that's what we will be redressing. I'm going to give you an example. 70% of every 10 children, of every 100 children that goes into grade 1, doesn't make it into grade 12. So only 3 out of 10 children would go into matric. But the 3 that goes into matric, only 1 will go either to a FET college or to a university. So what we are creating is a sausage machine for dropouts. And that creates social evils in society. And we are saying those are the things that we will be tackling in the center, and there's a process around that. I think on the one thing that I also didn't mention was the fishing industry. We basically are saying, gone is the days that the big fishing companies can go into the deep sea and into the inshore. We are saying, no, wait. The inshore belongs to the small and the medium and the subsistence fishermen. So we will table a process that we're going to call on all the fishing communities to have a partnership with the PMC to walk this path so that we can address that issue, very, very specific issue. And we're going to go to Hout Bay on Thursday to speak to the community on fishing and their rights and the equitable opportunities there. On the foreign policies, I'm not going to delve into the detail, but literally it means that we are saying foreign policies is about the humane issues, it's about international trade issues, it's about relations, and it's about making sure there is a more fairer geopolitical order in our society. So we will be biased to the South-South relations. We will be biased to the BRICS countries. And we are saying that if 60% of the world population soon is in BRICS countries, and if 50% plus of the GDP is in BRICS countries, the PMC must push, because we think there is a contradiction in society currently. How is it possible that the Western Cape Premier can be allowed to have the flag of Ukraine hanging over this, not City Hall, it was over the Legislature Hall. But when the children wants to put flags of Palestine in solidarity with the Palestinian community because of the genocide against the Palestinians, How is it possible that the DA city government is actually going in there and talking about bylaws? Why don't they talk about bylaws? When the gangs are putting, every day the children in the Cape Flats, they walk out, they see swear words painted all over for years. Social conscientization. If I am a child that wakes up and I see signs of gangsterism on the walls, it's social conditioning. Social conditioning. And if that social conditioning happens, and we then see children becoming young adults and they are involved with crime, we should take it back to the social engineering of a society. Now, we saw that the city of Cape Town was quick to respond to a family that, in fact, they said didn't honor a bylaw. But in that same flats of buildings, they literally, for example, have gangster signs, and that's fine with them. That shows the contradiction. And on an international level, we are saying that, and I'm one of those, I'm not saying it's a PMC position, but we are arguing that if the issue didn't take place in October, the two nation states issue was not even on the agenda again. That's the truth. Because it became a norm, it's fine for an encroachment of Israel onto the Palestinian community. It happened daily. Saudi and Israel was busy signing an agreement on relations in a particular way, on trade relations, on harmonization. That is off the agenda at this point of time. Because what has happened, the moral issue of Palestine is at the center stage. And we must support the South African government in that. There is going to be repercussions, big repercussions. And we're saying we need to accept there's going to be a strategy on foreign relations by the West to create what I would call regime change over the next couple of years in this country. When the Israeli community is leaving Israel, where are they going to go to? It's an open-ended question, and that's the discussions that we'll be having. And what is the situation for what's going to happen in South Africa, and particularly in the Western Cape, in those level of context? That's the deeper side of the debates, and all that we're arguing is we will be in that debate. We believe, however, there are a process to engage all the parties, but through a developmental agenda.
Thank you, President. Gauss Fazlan van der Schijf from the Hesekwa House.
Kaitsies, Kaikwas, Kaikwarekep, all protocols are observed. Firstly, we just want to declare rightfully that we are proud members of People's Movements to Change. And in this space, we will be asked, are you political leaders? And we would say, definitely not, but we are agents of change. So thank you so much for the initiative. So we have two questions. So as the Queen, the Sun in particular, there is an Act of 2019 where we as the First Nation are being asked and taken to task to apply for recognition. So we just wanted to know, leadership, how does your movement plan to address the recognition rights of indigenous communities, particularly the Khoi and the San, the political and legal framework in South Africa? And then the second question, it's a huge one for us, is the question of land. So given the historical significance, let's use Knoflokskraal as an example only. What role does your movement see in supporting the community development initiatives, or possibly you could outline any specific policies or plans related to community development and the empowerment of reclaimed land? Kai Gangangs.
Thank you very much, Gauss.
It's loaded, so I'm not going to get into the detail. I think we've already said that we are saying we're a partnership as an organization. We invite the leadership of all these institutions to engage us and to come forward with proposals. And thank you so much, Gaab, and others for being here. the land issue is very clear. What we will say is we are going to call for you see, there's a problem if we're still debating 30 years into a democracy about recognition of the Khoi and the San. There's a problem there. So the PMC is saying we will delve into it because we were not in government yet, as the PMC. So we will delve into it, analyze, and then make practical suggestions. One of those suggestions is simply that we, and as a side, Wesley Newman, that's the principle that has a big case on currently. Heathfield died. And remember, he was basically suspended, and the city, the province has put more than 2 million, I think, against him just to fight that individual with the family. I saw the results at your school. It dropped from where you had it at a very high level to just over 50%. So we want to say that the PMC now will join those other parties and supporters that will help fight for your case. So thank you so much. So on the issue of recognition, we are saying that there is a fundamental contradiction that this bill still tried to make a divide between the traditional leaders, the Venda, the Sotho, the Xhosa, and the Khoi. So it's as if we're the stepchildren of traditional leaders in South Africa. So there's an issue there. A second issue is the land issue. And we are saying that pre-1913 we want to reopen. Because Mr. Eng and myself are always joking, if we're going to now open, if we cut and there's a DNA test, he's going to be more Khoi than myself. Because of the fact that we are one nation, ultimately. And that is, Madiba has actually done a DNA test. And then that showed that there's a relation. So we think those are the issues that we will, in the practical examples, really around, so recognition, institutionalization. Practical institutionalization. So definitely whether PMC will be governing or co-governing, now or in 2 years' time, we will make sure that there's not a discussion about policy, about a long document, but we will basically institutionalize it. So what we're now going to do is we're going to engage the national portfolios of COCTA on this type of matters on behalf and with our people. Then on the land and example of Knoflook, we think there must be more Knoflooks. That's what we believe. Because that fight in Knoflook wasn't the land grab. It was the fact that there's historical value in the fact that the people there and their ancestors were actually there. So we believe that it was not what the initial strategy was to make it as a land grab. It's not a land grab. It's the restoration of our people's land and the reclaiming of our people's land. And what the PMC will do is to partner, not only when we're in government, also now, the Knoflook community, but we're going to challenge the Knoflook community. Let's do a umkhabulo. Let's sit around the table. And let's find ways, and those that's with is with. That's not with, it's also not with. But we're going to put a development path together. We're going to call our international partners, our local partners, the government agencies. The one thing that some of us know is how to actually institutionalize litigation against the state when it comes to the people's interest. So we're going to say we're going to call for good legal practitioners to help that fight. And we will be able to be a engager with the state to try and help resolve. But I personally think, and we discussed this, we need a development plan for the Knoflook. That development plan must have skills development. It must look at the issue relating to, as you said, community development. It must look at the link between here and Bolivia. Remember what's happening, and back to the foreign relations. Bolivia is a state controlled by the indigenous community and the indigenous population. So we're going to look at best practices of the global best practices where the indigenous people are actually in charge of the state. We're going to look at other countries and see what is the lessons learned, and can we bring a link between the leadership of our indigenous desk, which sits here, and their counterparts globally. And because I was a foreign deputy minister, we definitely will be able to bring those linkages. So we're going to be a catalyst to bring the right level of people to yourselves. But we hope that the example of knoflookskraal can multiply and tenfold all over South Africa, and we will partner in that process.
Thank you, Mr. President. We are unfortunately have arrived at the end. It's been quite long, but I do want to invite members of the media to have a session with the President, one-on-one interview. I think there are a number of hands, Mr. President.
They just indicated that the Royal Nama House is also here. The Nama Royal House. I think we recognize. I didn't know who that was. And then that's the one. I don't think for now, Leader Pauline, you should speak, right? I don't think for now. I mean, I just wanted to be, because if there is a need for any of you to take place or whatever, I think whoever should go out. But there is definitely a request for discussion. So I think we can allow that. But I think in I'm not sure if it was Queen Como's hand that was up, but they just said to me I'm a director's license.
Huh?
Goedemiddag, good day, assalamu alaikum, Moweni, Kaiches. Thank you, Leader Marius. Thank you for this. I thank you for what you were saying, and I was the greatest and the biggest supporter of the PMC. But I'm not negative about it when they go into the political spheres. Me, myself, Queen Como and King Como, we are not in the political arena, but because we do have people in the PMC, as you can see, Commissioner Jermaine is sitting there, our economical wing. She's doing the greatest, biggest job out there for the koi and sand, because the Nama believes we're not only the Namas, but there's people that needs our help. PMC, we support you in what you do, but because you're going over to a political arena does not mean we're not supportive, because there is supporters of the Namas in your political spheres. So on that note, PMC, don't go the route where all and everybody went to by telling us, go and get more land. Because that brings confusion and then brings fights amongst our people. Because when one leader steps into a place, they feel he's the owner of that land. But if your forefathers was traders with United Nations, you will know who you are and you will know where your land is. Let us start by the beginning. Let PMC help us with the codes, and then you will know where your land is, and we can speak with boldness and identify and say, this is our land, this is where we belong, this is where our tribe has started off, and there is where my forefathers was, there is where my crow was. Let us start there, because then we will say the political parties is in the one accord with the koi and the sand. Also PMC, I want to say, I know the coalition is happening, but the coalition is not going to come, no political parties is going to come into our areas unless the koi and sand will say yes or nay. Thank you.
Thanks, Queen. I think we are completely agreeing, and that's why we are saying at the center stage, all the representatives. We're going to go to Eastern Cape soon. One of the, I think it was the leader of the Youth Command, introduced me to one of the traditional leaders in Eastern Cape, and they've got similar problems. Land. They've got land, but they don't have development because the government has committed and nothing is happening. So I think part of the PMC's responsibility is to bring harmony amongst our nations so that they see themselves on the same side and not divide. Because if it's in the interest of those that's governing to keep our people divided, because then things stay the same. And that's why we're going to have a massive discussion also in the Eastern Cape around the very issue, which again, for example, deals with the traditional leaders in other provinces. So in this province, we know the reality, we know in the Northern Cape the reality, and we'll be addressing some of those things.
All right, thank you very much, everyone, for coming. Those who want to have a... Are you media? Oh, I see. Those who... No. Oh. All right. We're going to ask you, this is the last person. Yeah, I know.
Yes. Yeah. Hi. Good afternoon. Kaiches, all protocols observed, and then to the leadership also, respected leadership. There's another issue that we need to also address pertaining. I'm Paramount Chief of the first Aboriginal Indigenous NPC. There are a lot of issues within the Khoi and the San that is now currently on the table that also needs to be addressed. We're the drivers of one of the biggest equality court claims currently within South Africa. And when we talk about the issue of the land, what is part and parcel of the land issue is also food security, sustainable farming. Those are issues of the bread baskets within the country. And when we're not having sufficient access to land, then those are issues that affects our societies at large when we look at what the produce is that is on the market and the produce that's in the stores, because we don't have access to land. So the two runs parallel with one another, and it makes it a crisis. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much. Thanks everyone for attending on behalf of the PMC. Your solidarity and support for the President and the leadership and the movement in total is appreciated. Anyone who wants to have a session one-on-one, either with the President or the entire leadership, can stay behind. And on that note, there are refreshments just on the other end of this corridor. So we welcome you to have some of that. Again, thank you very much. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum. Baie dankie. Het 'n lekker dag.